Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer with Oculus Rift Reviews, now with Windows Mixed Reality. Today we're finally going to review Half-Life Alyx VR. I pre-ordered this game. I paid for it fully. Unlike a lot of other reviews you've seen from some major people, I actually bought this game. Didn't get any free copy. This is my full, unfettered review for Half-Life Alyx experience both on the Oculus Rift and Windows Mixed Reality. It took me a little over 16 hours to complete the game. I was going slow and steady. I was not rushing it. I wanted to experience as much of the game as possible. I was going through every possible corner I could think of to try and get every bit of content from this game. I did enjoy this game. This is one of my top 5 VR games to play. It's a must play. It's a must buy. However, I have to admit, I was disappointed overall by this game, mostly because I had very high expectations. I was expecting to rate this game a 10 out of 10, perfect, best VR game ever, no question about it. But that's not what we got. I was really surprised by some of the negatives this game had, especially after playing Boneworks and being so excited with the physics system there, thinking that it'd be a one-to-one translation into VR for Half-Life Alyx. Basically, I thought this would be Boneworks, but with a structured story to really carry it over with a lot of polish. Yes, this story does have a lot of polish, but it doesn't have the complete physics of Boneworks, and this is really where the game really falls short of expectations. I'm going to rate this game an 8.5 out of 10, a lot lower than a lot of other reviews. I've seen a lot of 9s, I've seen a lot of 10s, but I just don't think this game is worthy of those scores. Obviously, scores are very subjective. Games are subjective. I'm sure you can find an actual person who did not like playing this game. So reviews are subjective, but I think I have enough time in VR that I can tell you why this game is not a 10 out of 10 or even a 9 out of 10. One of the big reasons why is just that VR is not fully implemented in this game. And what I mean by that is that it doesn't have all the modern experiences from VR that we can expect in a game. So you can obviously tell that full locomotion and smooth turning were something that were just added to this game as almost as an afterthought after, and not with that thought in mind for making the game. And you can tell that in the way that you climb, in the way that you mantle, and some of the interactions that you have. Before we get into that, let me just talk about my overall experience. So yes, I did enjoy playing this game. I had a lot of fun, and I do highly recommend it. It has a great story. It's got a great single-player experience. Keep in mind, it is very gated experience. What I mean by that, this is a very linear story. There's lots of blocked off areas that you just can't get into, and it's pretty obvious. Probably the best thing about this game, it's probably the most beautiful game that runs extremely well, and it's full of different elements throughout. So it has your action combat, it has your puzzles, and it's got this great narrative going on throughout, and it crescendos with the ending. So I had mixed feelings about the ending. I liked the ending as far as the narrative story, but I didn't like the ending as far as the combat or the action. That's really where it fell apart at the end for me. It didn't really end like in a satisfying way as far as the game action, the gameplay itself. A lot of the mini puzzles that were present throughout just felt tedious and laborious towards the end. They never really expanded on the puzzles. They never really progressed to just a difficulty where you felt, okay, these puzzles are getting smarter. Instead, the puzzles just got more tedious. the combat towards the end is, I felt the same way. It was just more enemies, not exactly smarter enemies. And it ends, and I don't want to give away too many spoilers. I'm trying to avoid spoilers. But towards the end, especially that last gunfight, it's different from all your previous gunfights. And at least for me, on Windows Mixed Reality, that's how I ended the game. I started off with Oculus Rift, and I played most of this game on the Oculus Rift, but I ended on Windows Mixed Reality. And for me, that last fight just felt very clunky, especially trying to control that weapon on Windows Mixed Reality. It just didn't feel very polished. I don't know, it might just be a Windows Mixed Reality issue, but for me, it was kind of a disappointment there. Even though the story ended great, the action towards the end wasn't all that great for me. But there were great environments throughout. Beautiful world building. You really got a sense that you were here in the Half-Life universe, and that's really where VR excels, getting you immersed, letting you believe that you're a part of this world. And that's really something that Half-Life Alyx did a great job with: the beautiful environments, the attention to detail, the polish, and just the overall narrative arc in this game that really got you motivated. That, I want to get to that ending, I want to see where this goes. And then you get to the end and you're like, whoa, I was not expecting that. So that was wonderful. And so I don't want to take away from this game. It's a great game. It's, like I said, it's one of my top 5 VR games ever. Would be in my top 5 list of VR games ever. But I was expecting this to be the best VR game ever. And sorry about that noise in the background. I live downtown in a big city, and unfortunately right now during the coronavirus, there's a lot of that going around. Anyways, I love this game, I really do, but I just expected to believe this would be the best game I ever played in VR. I was expecting to give a 10 out of 10, and it wasn't that for me. Again, some of the interactions were subpar. Again, the jumping, the mantling just was not very good. He kind of forced to teleport, which is the last thing I want in a game. In a VR game. I think in 2020 we're beyond that, but it seems like some developers are just dead set in keeping that old style of VR still in modern VR games. Holstering the weapon or stowing the weapon, again, very terrible. Basically, the way that you get a weapon is you press a button and just the weapon materializes in your hand. Again, whoa, taking you out of the immersion, out of the belief that you're in this world. It's really a poor way of doing it, and I was just so floored and so shocked that this was part of the game. I just couldn't believe this is what Valve decided to do. I was beside myself. How could this happen? It's terrible. The way that only ammo, which meant no grenades or anything, were stored in your backpack, and you had to put it on your backpack and then put it on your gun. Oh man, that was just a terrible mechanic. I wish they hadn't done that. It's just a terrible way to doing it. And then the way the gravity gloves, I mean, sure, certain actions were great with the gravity gloves, but a lot of it was tedious. There was a lot of object hunting. When I mean object hunting, I mean you're looking for a lot of ammo, because ammo is scarce, so you're scavenging everywhere for ammo. You're having to use the gravity gloves to just try to get the ammo hidden from something behind, and then you get the wrong item, so you're pulling on that. And so using the gravity gloves didn't really feel all that awesome by the end, because you just kept using it for tedious tasks. Again, trying to move the bucket somewhere so you can get the ammo under the bucket, or getting those little upgrade things for your gun. You just need to get enough of them to get the upgrades. You only have 3 weapons, which, don't get me wrong, I liked all 3 weapons, and they were nicely implemented in this game. I really liked the shotgun. Even the handgun was really fun to use, and the automatic rifle as well. All nice, but you were really limited, that you really only had those 3 weapons, plus the grenades. And once you get the grenade upgrade on your shotgun, there really is no reason to be tossing those grenades around, and I really didn't. I really used a shotgun just because it was so much easier to use it that way. and you only have 2 storage spots for your grenades or for healing items on your wrist. And again, I thought that was a terrible mechanic. I don't know why Valve thought that was a good idea. So a lot of this game is just scarcity of items and having to decide which ones to take and which ones to leave behind. And again, with the gravity gloves, it's just easy to get the wrong item. Several times I teleported without wanting to, especially on Windows Mixed Reality. I didn't want to teleport, but it's so easy to click on the joystick and you just get launched forward. And there were several fights where I was trying to get into the fight, but then I was teleported by accident somewhere, and I have to like reorient myself and try to get back into the fight again. Something that's just takes you out of the game, out of the immersion, because you don't want to teleport. If you're a VR veteran like me, the last thing you want to do is to teleport. And even sliding the doors, a lot of times my hands would go way outside my body, and I was just not expecting that lack of polish from a Valve game. I read about how they spent so much time on doors. I thought the mechanic would be perfect, but it wasn't. The sliding doors, for me, almost every single time, my hands would go outside my body, basically. The loading screens, again, I didn't like that. The game was very linear with several areas blocked off. A lot of the puzzles got very repetitive towards the end. And probably one of the worst things was the melee combat, or the lack of it. Basically, it was non-existent. Even for taking down the boards, you're basically expected to reach down there and just take the boards off manually versus like using a crowbar and just smashing the boards. And the reasons Valve gave for doing that are pretty sad, because they said they didn't want you to think you were Gordon Freeman, and since you're Alyx, they took that out. Again, very poor reasoning. That's baloney. They couldn't get the melee physics right, is really the answer. And this is Valve. How could they not get the melee physics right? They didn't have to be perfect. It just had to be good enough for you to get immersed. And they couldn't even do that. Oh, man. Well, I know I sound very negative, but I'm just explaining to you guys why, even though I love Half-Life Alyx, for me it's just an 8.5 out of 10. And where it failed is I'm just flabbergasted by it. Really, I am. I don't see a good reason for it. It's like people at Valve are not playing VR games, and that's why they don't know what they're doing. Obviously, they never asked for my input. I'm a guy who has thousands of hours in VR, and I play lots of different VR games, and I would have told Valve, hey, full locomotion, smooth turning, that needs to be there day one. You can't be using that teleport to crouch or that button to jump. You know, the way it's done here, like it's a teleport jump. No, you need a more immersive way. Anyways, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's great, but it just could have been so much better. I'm Fast Lawyer. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.